Hello, everybody. Hi, my friends. So good to see you again. As always, Henry Perez Alonso here with the Take 5 Challenge, and I just welcome you to the show. A little bit about you for those that haven't seen and haven't been able to see the episodes yet, and this is your first one. Welcome. I am a Parks and Rec professional who's been in the business over 30-ish years. I know I look a little bit younger than that would tell. But yes, I started just yesterday. Anyhow, this show, really the Take 5 Challenge, is about connection, right? It's about the importance of Parks and Rec professionals connecting together, but more specifically, really making an intentional effort to connect. So the Take 5 Challenge really was born out of my state association and me being able to challenge our professionals to say, hey, I challenge you to take 5 minutes a month to just connect with another professional, whether it's someone who is at the same level as you, coming up behind you, or someone that's went before you. It was really my opportunity to say, hey, professionals, let's come together because we know that we are stronger together. And really, it's our opportunity to, as I would say, as iron sharpens iron, one person sharpens another. And that's really what we do through this effort of the Take 5 Challenge. Again, just taking a few minutes to just be who we are and connect with other professionals. That's what it's all about. And I look forward to connecting with you sometime if it's not here. As always, this show is partnered by our friends that were powered by the You Make a Difference campaign. You can find them at youmakethedifference.today. You can check us out at the Take 5 Challenge for Take 5 Challenge.today. So it's take the number 5 challenge.today, or shoot me an email, henry@take5challenge.today. You can find us at your regular podcast little stations as well. Just check, subscribe on YouTube, all that fun stuff, Take 5 Challenge. When we return, again, we're going to model for you a Take 5 with another professional. I have with me today Christopher McLean from the city of San Bernardino here in California. So looking forward to speaking to this young man and hanging out with him and chatting him about his experiences in his professional life and kind of what he's doing to serve the profession and serve our community. So we're going to be right back here to Take 5 with Christopher. So hang tight.
This is NGBN TV, a network for men and home to top experts, speakers, authors, and more. Streaming TV for men, created by men.
But why?
Why are we a network that inspires,
Educates, entertains, celebrates, and supports
men in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, simply to save men's lives.
There is an epidemic in our community,
and it's taking men from us?
I'm talking about mental health and suicide.
But we have an answer, and it's streaming, live shows, sports, concerts, and more.
in a real way for men to lock shields.
We can't wait to launch this TV network for you and with you.
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 Join our movement at ngbn.tv, coming January 2024.
And we're back. Welcome back to the Take 5 Challenge. Again, Henry Perez Alonso here, taking 5 with you and our guest. Today's guest, Christopher McLean from the city of San Bernardino. I'd like to welcome Christopher. Hey, Christopher, come on in. Come on in. Yeah. Hey, how are you? Can you hear us? Or are we frozen? There we are. Welcome to live broadcast, right? So, can you hear me okay? So I see you smiling. I don't hear your voice just yet.
All right. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I got you. I got you now. So welcome, Christopher. So glad to see you, man. So happy to meet you, actually, because this is for me is the first time I get to actually meet you. I've had the opportunity to speak to, I think your director over there at San Bernardino was telling stories about you. And I'm like, this is someone that I would love to talk to and just kind of, get to know a little bit and figure out who, what's he all about. So to kick off our little Take 5 right here, tell me, who are you, man? Who's Christopher? Tell me a little bit about your background and what you're doing.
Yeah. So I am here in the city of San Bernardino. I oversee a community center for people with disabilities, as well as a community garden. I've been in recreation for, I think, 12, 13 years at this point in time. I don't know. I stopped counting after a certain while.
Yeah.
In that time, I've been able to do quite a bit of different recreation duties, I guess, if you will, which is part of like, I guess, the course of recreation,
Yeah.
whether it's soccer complexes or just regular community centers. Um, but yeah, I am a creative by heart. That kind of drives me, and with the creativity, it kind of helps me think about how I can provide different programs to the community.
I love that. A creative by heart. I
Yeah.
haven't heard that phrase and I totally dig that. So I might have to borrow it and, attribute that to you. So let me ask you this. So you're working with people with disabilities, which I
Mhm.
find like super fascinating. And I appreciate that because not everybody can do that, right? How did you get started in that? And kind of what motivates you to continue to do that?
Yeah, I started, oh Lord. So I started as a volunteer.
Yeah.
I had friends that were looking to do volunteer hours at the facility that I'm now the supervisor of. Back when we were like 13, 14. I personally didn't want to go. I wanted to be outside with my friends, but they needed the volunteer hours, so they would just drag me along. So I went the first day, and I'm being honest, the first day was overwhelming because it was
Yeah.
a new experience for myself. But from there, I went back more and more, and then next thing you know, I think I left for a year, and I came back, and I was able to obtain a job at the facility.
Yeah.
And then from there, I've really learned a lot at CID, and that's kind of been my basis of my
Yeah.
experience with people with disabilities.
What does CID stand for?
CID stands for Center for Individual Development.
Okay. So you said it was overwhelming that first time. Like what was overwhelming? Like what was the part that you're like, oh
Because one of the things, like, I in high school, like, you see people with disabilities, but
yeah,
you don't necessarily interact.
yeah,
So for me personally, it was always a thing where I was like, I don't know exactly how to communicate because the beauty of CID is that it's not one type of disabilities. You have people with different abilities across the board.
yeah.
So how you talk to one person isn't how you're going to be able to talk to the next person. So it was one of those things where I was just like, I don't know what to do. They talked to me though.
Right.
I specifically remember it was Jamar. He's still in the program. He turned around. He told me I look like Chris Rock, and asked me to sing a song with him. And ever since then, like, that memory just stuck with me. Um,
What was the
but
song?
Jesus Christ, I think it was Backstreet Boys. I think it was My Way. Like,
Yeah,
it's still a hit.
yeah. I like
It's
that.
still a hit.
And Jamar's still there. And how is your relationship with Jamar now from that first time to today, years later?
It's it's I guess it's I want to say the same.
Yeah.
Because I basically at this point in time, he's seen me grow in my career here.
Right.
Is always a level of respect. He's still the fun, energetic person who just loves to sing and dance. We always have this thing where, like, you have start buddies.
Mhm.
Every staff gets one. It's just how the universe works, apparently. So there's always a participant that starts with a new staff.
Yeah.
So you can experience everything together. Jamar was mine's for, I think, as a volunteer. And then I also have one for, like, when I became staff. But other than that, like, yeah, no, he's great. And the dynamic is, I mean, it never changed.
So it's almost like every day is a new adventure, at CAD, right? Like working out there and just the people that you're with.
Yeah.
That's really cool. There was something I know that I understand about you is that you want people to know a little bit more about these folks, right? It's not just about the terms or diagnoses, right, about these
Yeah.
people, but you want something more. What is it that you want people to understand about kind of what you do?
Yeah, I mean, a big thing is, like, people tend to, uh, I don't want to say scare away, but it becomes a unnerving situation
Yeah,
when walking into the community because everyone's big focus is the terms and the terminology and what to say and what not to do to offend somebody, which is
right.
important. But I always say, like, the most important thing is trying to get the time to understand the person.
Mhm.
If you take the time to understand the person, their disability or their diagnosis will come after, because that's not who they are and that doesn't define them.
Right.
It helps you understand what difficulties they might have in conversation or when you're planning an activity or program or what you may be doing with that individual. But it doesn't mean that you judge them or communicate them with that just in mind.
So how do you like I think that's pretty fascinating. And I know I don't have that program, in my town specifically. I know that there's other folks that have it and are able to bring it to us, but it is something that fascinates me. I did grow up with, family members, whether it be, Down syndrome or, hearing impaired or other things, but I was never really around a community like, that you serve and you work for. How So I kind of, in a sense, learned how to just be normal, which sounds really weird. I don't even like that word, right? To this,
Yeah.
just try to be me. But for those folks that don't know, like, how would you suggest, like, how do I do that? How do I get past what I see in order to just kind of welcome the meeting? Does that make sense? I'm like, it's like somebody new to your program. If you look back to, you said it was overwhelming that first time.
Mhm.
Now you've been there for so many years. How do you help somebody,
Mhm.
dive into your world right now? How would you help
Um,
either another professional or just another person?
Yeah, it's all about comfort, and you have to kind of have a honest conversation with
Yeah.
yourself as to like why are you kind of nervous about the situation? Like, what is the reason? Is it because they have a physical deformity that you're not used to? Is it because they can't communicate? Like, what it is? And then you got to take the time to just really self-reflect, and then come to understanding that they're people.
Yeah.
People with disabilities are no different than us typical folks walking day to day in our lives. Um, and with that, like, you just gotta take the time to like get to know them and have the conversation and uh, well, have the interaction and experiences
Yeah.
with them that will ultimately build that relationship. And with that, it just comes a little bit easier.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting because I mean, I felt kind of dumb asking the question, but at the same time, I think part of it is getting over yourself to say, what is the deal? It's like, like you're right. It's like I don't know how I would respond to certain things, but certain things I bet might be more at ease. So I think that's
Yeah,
really important for all of us to kind of go, hey, just be you for a moment and be open, right?
yeah,
And just soak it in, soak in
yeah,
what's in front of you, and don't be afraid to ask the question, right? Even if it seems silly. I mean,
yeah.
do you find that to be helpful?
That is something that I tell the staff all the time is if you don't.
Oh, I know you have a great answer right there, and I know you froze just a little bit on me. Uh, what is it that you
Yeah.
tell your staff all the time?
I always tell them like if you don't know, ask the question.
Yeah.
A lot of times there's no one who better knows themselves than the person themselves.
Oh, yeah,
Um,
that's a good point.
yeah, like because they have a disability doesn't mean they don't understand
Yeah.
themselves. A lot of times in our field, like specifically at CID, we work with a lot of intellectual disabilities. So a lot of people come in with the notion that there's nothing that they know, when in fact that's wrong. Right. So when staff is they're having issues, they're like, well, we don't know if they're gonna want to do this, or we don't know if they like this. I was like, well, did you ask them? Did you take the time to talk to them and ask
Yeah.
them? And they're like, okay. I was like just go and take the time to talk and ask. And if you're not sure about what they might like or what may be a trigger, a great a great thing to do is talk to the person and
Yeah.
ask them, or at least talk to the parent.
That's
Um,
such a it's such a simple solution, right? And we just overthink everything, right?
yeah,
I think
yeah.
that's crazy. And
I'm
it's
definitely guilty of overthinking things.
Yeah. And I'm glad to hear that too, right? You're in it, but
Yeah,
you also do the same thing. But I feel like we get in the way of ourselves, right? So it's like
yeah,
as opposed to just, because you're right. It's like you ask the person, they're like, oh yeah, here's my disability, or here's what's going on with me. And
yeah,
and I'm still here and I'm still moving forward and moving forward through the life, which is cool, which I
yeah.
which I really do like. So tell me about something. You guys, there's a pillar program that you guys just did. Is that something like that?
Yes,
Tell me a little bit
yeah.
about that. What was that all about?
So we were honored to be able to get a grant that was with the Inland Regional Centers.
Mhm.
With that grant, we were allowed to have basically more inclusive initiatives and programs. So one of the big things for us is in San Bernardino we do sensory stations at a lot of our
Oh,
events. So that way, when someone has any type of sensory sensitivities, there is a space dedicated to them that they can go and play with kinetic sand or Orbeez or get earplugs or whatever they may need to make sure that event is comfortable for them. With that, we were able to kind of beef it up and make sure that we have all the equipment needed. We just not unveiled, but we just introduced our silent headphones. So
Oh wow,
basically,
yeah,
yeah, if you've been to a silent dance party, we purchased those and we're able to repurpose them as one, they're great noise canceling devices, but we're also stationing relaxing music, story times, things like that. So that way, if the sound is a lot for them, they have another option that they control. And then also with that, we were able to do a slew of field trips. A big thing for us is that we wanted the families to go with us. A lot of
yeah,
times, participants go with the CID staff, and it's great that the parents trust us to be able to take the participant out of the city on occasion. But we wanted to make sure that the families were there because we wanted the families to also make those connections. Because a village is very important when raising any kid,
yeah.
um, especially when you're raising someone with a disability. That extra help, and honestly, when you can get that advice from somebody. So our big thing was trying to make the parents connect and maybe exchange phone numbers. Maybe you guys can have a
Yeah.
call. Maybe you guys can hang out outside of CID. So this is not the only place where they get that socialization, and they can see, I don't know, Brandon on the weekend. Um, that's outside of city sanctioned fun.
Yeah.
They can have that experience that's not tied to us. That was one of the things. And then we also were able to do our annual trip, which was to Disneyland. Every year we take participants with disabilities to Disneyland. Typically, we take around 30 to 32 is our number, our magic
Yeah.
number. This year, we're able to double it to a little over 63, I
Oh wow,
think,
yeah.
which was a tall feat in itself, organizing that. But it was a great trip. They were all able to kind of pick their own experience. We divided the groups up so that way it wasn't 60 of us just
Yeah.
trailing along
Yeah.
Disneyland. We did a leisure group, a mixed group, and a thrill group. So if you kind of wanted to watch shows and eat and kind of like mosey around Disneyland, you have that option too. If you kind of want to do a little bit of shows and some rides, you have that option. If you're like me, you're like, we're here for the rides, we're gonna go
Right.
ride. There's a group for that as well. So people were able to choose that and get that own experience.
So before I forget, what's your go-to ride at Disney?
My go-to right now is Rise of the Resistance.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Before it was Indiana Jones, but Rise of the Resistance is
Yeah.
hands down my favorite ride right now.
That's good. I dig that. Hey, so going back to the pillar thing and just through that experience, first, I'm mentally taking all these notes because I'm like, oh, wow, what a simple thing in a sense to be able to have and help that population kind of integrate. And I don't know if they use this still the term mainstream, but I don't know if that's the case, but really to kind of be with us and like, why can't I have headphones? Why can't I have these things that would help them then to participate in the big community events and let them be more, the sensory things. I love that. So you're going to be a resource. So that's what I kind of reach out to, which I totally dig. I'm like, part of me is like, duh, why, there's, again, goes back to simple things, not overthinking that I have to have this big, tremendous, stack of stuff that I need to be able to do this for these folks. It's like, hey, how about just this? How about we do this one thing? And then you'll see how many people come out.
Yeah. And when Liddy, it was her idea to do this. And I was like, oh, okay. And I was like, I had this big grand idea of like, okay, this is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to have. It's going to be 2 tents. And she was like, no, let's keep it simple.
Yeah.
And so we did a more simpler solution, and I wouldn't say more effective, but it's a little bit more accessible.
Yeah.
Anybody can run the table. It doesn't have to be just my CID staff. If anybody in the department wanted to do the sensory station, they can do it themselves.
I love that. I think that's awesome. That's cool. That sensory, all that fun stuff. As we kind of wrap up, there's one of the things that I had in mind. I know there's something that you kind of said that because this is our connection and our, we try and sharpen each other. You were talking about communication. You're talking about, there's something that we all struggle with, but you said that there's something that you struggle with, which is over-promising. Tell me a little bit about your over-promising. I want to see how we can together kind of work through that, right? A little bit.
Oh, I am guilty of over-promising. I have like I said earlier, like I'm a creative mind. So I ideas, 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 ideas. Over the time, I've gotten a lot better of doing my ideas and then breaking them down to like, okay, now what is actually doable for me when we look at staffing and all that type of stuff. But a lot of times I'm so willing to like help and be available, and I'm like, okay, yeah, no, I can help with this and I can do this, and then next thing you know, I'm like, I don't know if I actually have the time
Yeah.
to do this. So it's one of those things that I've actively worked on, because you just want to make sure that everybody has success in what they're trying to do. So you tend to overextend yourself to limits that you might not be able to do unless you're burning yourself out.
Yeah. Well, I have a lot of staff that I think that are similar to you, and it's not. And I wouldn't even say that you're an overpromiser. You guys are overachievers who don't like to achieve, right? So like you're always like here, and if you're doing what you perceive as being less, then you're like, well, okay, I haven't done what I said I was going to do. But I do think that you're right. It's like some of those things you have to stop and think, right? You have to stop and go, okay, can I really do this? Or are we brainstorming? Are you asking me to do this? So that's the other thing for you, right? Is, hey, what part do you want me to play as we talk about this? And then the other thing, which I totally like how you said that you kind of break down the stuff that you look at, what can I do? We call it the Swiss cheese method over here. It's like, I ask them, hey, give me your plan, right? Give me what your plan is. And then let me go ahead and start poking holes in it and trying to figure out if it works. And if there's not a lot of holes to poke, then okay, I think we're in a good place to move forward with it. Or whatever. And then the last thought I want for you on this one is, don't do it alone.
Yes.
And I think that you've got a good leader over there, and even you, I can see it, like you are a people person. You're going to be someone that people are going to be drawn to as a leader. And it's just like, remember to help them, learn, just like you were doing, go ask them all the things that you're saying as far as asking people questions. That's a big thing for me. It's like, I'm constantly asking questions and, just trying to say, hey, how does it work? Because the more questions I ask, the more I can understand, and the more I'm able to see what I can really do. So, and that also might help you in that sense. So, don't forget to Swiss cheese the thing, for yourself, to allow you then to say yes to the real things you can say yes to. And then it's not an overpromise. You're like, hey, I can do this. That's pretty cool. Which I like.
I'm definitely taking that with me.
Yeah. I mean, dude, I am so happy to have been able just to spend this time with you and get to know you on this level. You got me thinking a lot about some things for just what we offer here in my town, but then just overall, it's like, just personally, right? So I really do appreciate the time that you took with me. I do have the challenge for you. So this is the Take 5 challenge, right? So I, would ask that, hey, I'm challenging you now to do what we did, right? It could be honestly a coffee walk, a talk, but would you be willing to take 5 with somebody in the profession just to kind of, connect with them intentionally? And that's the request to you for one. Either find your own, or I can find you someone to connect with, but I definitely know that there's people that I will try and, connect you with at some point, because you got some great stuff that you're doing over there. So are you in?
Yes, of course.
All right. That's what I like. That is awesome. All right. So Christopher, thank you so much for coming out here. Thank you to, the city of San Bernardino, who let you have some time with us. I would love to take 5 with you again and just to get to know you even deeper. So I look forward to the next time that we get to chat. So thanks a lot for coming on to the show today.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Hey, no problem.
Attention, gentlemen of distinction. Introducing NGBN.TV, the television network designed exclusively for men in their 40s, 50s, and 60s. Your go-to destination for entertainment that speaks to you, inspires you, and celebrates the incredible journey of manhood. And here's the exciting news. NGBN.TV is coming to Roku, Apple TV, Amazon, and your favorite mobile devices. Whether you're a sports enthusiast, seeking self-improvement, or just looking for a good laugh, NGBN.TV has got you covered. Entertainment, inspiration, brotherhood. Coming soon to Roku, Apple TV, Amazon, and mobile devices. NGBN.TV, where men thrive.
Okay, so I'm back with some thoughts. Just had a really good conversation. My mind, as always, through these Take 5 challenges is just full. Couple things for me, bottom line, just thoughts and reflections on the time that I had with Christopher. One, sometimes you really don't need to overthink the world, right? Sometimes it's as easy as asking the question of the individual. If I want to get to know you, why wouldn't I ask you, about you? And I think that came very strong with me from, Christopher and the work that he does with the folks with disabilities. It's like, why not ask them? Have you asked them? Have you brought them into this conversation as opposed to overthinking it and doing other stuff? I thought that was that in itself is a big takeaway. And I hope, knowing that that's something that sharpened me, is because that's regardless if it's someone from disability or anything else, it's just a straight up communication thing. Talk to someone, ask them who they are. And I think that in this day and age, we've kind of gotten away from that, right? We're too busy texting or something like that. So just talk to the person and work on that one. That's one. The other thing that really kind of I need to look into, and I hope that you as professionals look into it too, is how do we serve those that we don't normally serve? And are there ways to do it simply, right? The sensory station, what a great thing to be able to bring to your event. I'm going to be looking into that. I'm going to be tapping into Christopher and saying, hey dude, how else can you help me with this? So again, the connections we make, simple communication, ask those questions, and look for ways to include everyone, even in the simplest of ways. Again, I'm here about connections. I had a good connection. I learned some stuff from Christopher, and I totally dig that. We're here on Take 5 because it's important. It's important for me to connect with other professionals. I think it's important for you to connect to each other. We are truly stronger together when we come together, right? We're not a profession of one. We are one profession. I say that all the time. And it's through that power of connection that we've got that we are going to continue to make a difference in the world that we have, even if it's just in your small world. I know that Christopher's making a difference. I'm trying to do the same thing here. I want to connect with you. I want to be sharpened by you. So if you want to come and take 5 with me, reach out to me, send me a note, tell me you're willing to take 5, tell me you want to take 5 with somebody, or let me know who you want me to take 5 with. The Take 5 Challenge, again, is powered by You Make a Difference campaign. You can find them at youmakethedifference.today. You can find me at take5challenge.today, take the number 5.challenge. Challenge.today. And then again, Henry at take5challenge.today. I'm excited to be a part of the NGBN TV, folks. Episodes, you can find us on YouTube channel, look up Take 5 Challenge, but please take 5, take up the challenge, stay sharp professionally. I look forward to connecting with you and any other professional that you reach out to me. So thank you for the connection and see you next time.